Hi everyone, I'm Devlina, welcoming you once again to another action-packed episode of Icons Behind Brand video interview series Marketing Today and Tomorrow. And on today's episode, we have Mr. Nikhil Dhar, who leads the digital and marketing team at Indigo. With over 11 years of experience across industries such as media, aviation, and retail, Nikhil has worked in areas of brand building, market strategy, campaign management, and data analysis. In his current stint at Indigo, he has played an important role in building Indigo as a strong brand in India. So let's hear it more from Mr. Nikhil Dhar, who is an Associate Vice President in Digital Media Indigo. A warm welcome to you, Nikhil.
Thanks, Devlina. It's an honor to be at Icons Behind the Band. Really looking forward to having some great conversation. Though I think would want to really upfront acknowledge the fact that the Indigo brand has been built by a lot of people working at Indigo. Everyone who's working at Indigo, people who have worked with us in the past, and also our partners would want to acknowledge all of those people who have really built this Indigo as a very strong brand in India.
And I'm sure, Nikhil, because brand building is not a single thing, it's not a small thing. It is a whole lot of stories that has been built by so many minds, so many marketing minds, people, thought process, So I know, I mean, it's not a game of one day. So it's a whole lot of stories and a lot of things comes for the brand building thing. We are going to talk a lot about that, and we are so happy to have you here in Icons Behind Brand. And Nikhil, we would love to know about your journey first. So over 11 years of experience. So what has been your journey and background?
Sure. I think on professional front, if I now look at in hindsight, I think it has been a really interesting journey. I started my career in consulting with Deloitte and did a lot of projects in the space of new market launches, growth strategy, cost reduction, etc. for our clients, which were across industries and geographies. Interestingly, it gave me opportunity to work in different parts of the world. So I traveled a lot, whether it was Southeast Asia, China, Europe, US. So a lot of my clients were based out of different locations. So helped me sort of learn about new cultures, work with people from different geography. So that gave me a lot of sort of exposure and understanding of how sort of to work in such diverse situations and conditions. After that, I decided to move on and moved into Times of India. I think that was the space where I worked with some of the brightest minds in the print business. I think there's no one knows print better than Times Group. So learned a lot about how do you build brands, really strong brands. What do you do on campaign strategy and other aspects of marketing. I think it was a great sort of learning for me, working with a lot of people on how do you build strong, lasting brands. I think that was one thing that I realized. And as you rightly said, brands aren't built in a day. It takes, if not years, decades to build really strong, sustainable brands. So I think that was very strong learning for me at Times Group. After that, I moved to Indigo, and I've been working here with one of the really bright marketing team that we have at Indigo. I think over the last 3 years, we've done sort of a lot of interesting work, a lot of work that has given us satisfaction. Within that, obviously, we have also seen and learned a lot from COVID. I think aviation business was very badly hit. I think there was one of the strongest hit sectors post the pandemic hit the world. But I think it gave us opportunity to unlearn, rethink of how we want to do things, what we want to do, and build a brand which is truly trusted by the people of the country. Because we had to sort of build back confidence in air travel and sort of nudge people to understand that flying is safe enough, and they should sort of, and if they have to start flying, they should always choose Indigo. So has been an interesting journey, I think, on professional front over the last a decade or so. So have really enjoyed, learned a lot. So that's my sort of background and journey over the last decade.
Right, it's pretty exciting, Nikhil. And I'm sure last 2.5 years might have given you a lot of interesting learnings at Indigo. And last 1 year, 1.5 year, because of COVID, we have learned a lot to navigate in the space where we were not aware. There were no Google Map for that particular period of time, right? So,
True,
as you
true.
mentioned, the aviation industry has got massive impact because of the COVID pandemic, and people's mind has shifted a lot. Okay, so what were the major roadblocks, if you just elaborate on that part, and challenges you have faced in the last 1 year?
I think from a consumer perspective, the consumer behavior and mindset completely shifted once the pandemic hit us. So earlier, consumer was worried about are they getting a comfortable seats? Are they getting some great
Yes,
food when they are
yes.
flying? Right. That was one of the key things that they were thinking about. Post pandemic, there was a complete 180-degree shift. All they were worried about was about the safety, whether airlines are making sure that the planes are sanitized, are the staff wearing PPE kit, are they wearing masks, have they been vaccinated, and things like that. So completely, I think it was a complete reversal of Maslow's hierarchy from uh, at the top level. It just came down to the
The
completely
down
basic
level.
elements that
Yes.
yeah, that you have to be safe, etc. I think that was one of the big challenge. Second big challenge was that there was a lot of myth and misinformation about air travel. So people were not sure how
Mm-hmm.
uh, what happens to the air which is within the aircraft while you're flying, uh, and other aspects about flying. So people were not sure whether it was safe to fly. I think that was one of another sort of from a consumer inside perspective, sort of a challenge for us. Those were from the consumer side. I think
Mm-hmm.
the other challenge was also from our trade partners
Okay.
perspective, because what happened was obviously the confidence of our trade partner sort of
Mm-hmm.
diminished a lot, right? They were not, because the business started going down, so it was important for us to keep them sort of engaged, motivated, and understand that this is not a long-term phenomena; it's a short-term phenomena. We are there for a really long term, and we believe that air travel will come back. It might take time, but we are strongly invested in this
Mm-hmm.
area, strongly invested in this market. So that was something. And lastly, I think for us employees, it was important for us to keep our employees really, really motivated. And honestly, they work like COVID warriors, right? To be on the ground
Mm-hmm.
during the peak of. So it was very important to keep them motivated. Even from a marketing perspective, I think it was very important to keep the marketing teams motivated.
Yes.
As with COVID, a lot of reduction, so which meant our budgets completely dried out. So we had to think of innovative ways. So we had to keep the team motivated to, so that we can sort of reach out to consumers in a way which was not being done earlier. So these were some of the challenges and the roadblocks that we faced over the last 1 year. Consumer insight completely changed. Our trade partners were affected, and employees were also. We had to keep them motivated so that they were able to deliver much more than they were doing previously.
So I'm coming to the consumer insight side as well. So before that,
Yeah.
Nikhil, I would love to know from your side, who are your target audience and how are you reaching out to them?
Devlina, I think from our target audience perspective, we broadly bucket them into three buckets. One target audience for us is people who travel for leisure purpose. Right, this is a group of audience which is eager to travel. They want to go for vacation, and there is so much talk about revenge travel and all of that at this point of time.
Yes.
So create content which actually inspires them to travel. So that is one target audience. The second category of target audience for us is VFR, which is visiting friends and relatives,
Haha.
emergency and other travel sort of category. So primarily, this is a group of sort of audience which is traveling to meet their families, their relatives, or some other reason, such as students which are traveling for their education, people traveling for any medical issues, etc., etc. The idea here is to create content which is focused about talking about how we offer mm, so many flights to a consumer and at the lowest fare. So this is all about sort of making them aware, making them understand that we have the maximum number of flights. We connect more cities within the country. We fly 1,500 flights daily, and not only do that, but we do it also at the lowest and the most affordable fares. So that is the second audience. The third audience for us is the corporate traveler. I think this group is this is a target audience which also among all, as I said, among all the three is the most affected. Because it's taking some time for corporate travel to come back again to the level it was previously. And in this case, we primarily target this audience through with the help of our sales team. So we do newsletters, we do corporate videos, we do virtual or on-ground events with them to engage with this audience. So these are the three cohorts. One is the leisure, the other is mostly VFR, which is visiting friends and families, and last is the corporate travelers. This is how we sort of segment our audience and then on.
Right. So we spoke about influencer marketing here, right? And I have
Yes.
been following Indigo's communication from pretty long time, and I really admire the way Indigo has been communicating to its audience through the digital channels, conveying everything starting from the very beginning time of the COVID. So let's talk about the influencer marketing side, such a hot topic. How do you make sure to choose the right set of influencers for your segment?
Since pandemic, with more and more people spending more and more time on digital media, influencer marketing is no longer just a fad. It's becoming sort of a reality, I think. In terms of the influencers that we choose, I think they were very, for us, they were key parameters that we had in mind to ensure that we chose the right set of influencer. So we had two set of parameters. One was content focus, and other was quantitative, which was number focused. From a content focused perspective, we looked at a couple of things. One was we looked at influencers whose content tonality and TG matched with our brand. So if we were looking at travel and things like that, we looked at influencers who were in the travel space, who created content in that genre, etc. So that was one very important thing. Secondly, we looked at influencers who had a lot of authentic content. So not too much content which was over collaborations and things like that. So not to focus on influencers who do a lot of such work. Yes.
Sales focused.
Yeah, we didn't want it to be too sales focused. I think the third thing was to also look at influencers which were followed by other top brands and had sort of aviation enthusiasts looking at them, and people who really looked upon to them when they were thinking of creating their travel plan. So that sort of influencer was from a content perspective very critical for us. Having said that, I think one of the key pillars of our strategy was not to look at influencer marketing as a one-time activity or a campaign-focused activity, because a lot of brands do that, but we realized no. So now our philosophy is to pick 4-5 influencers, work with them in a month, and then continue it and continue to do it. So that has really worked with us, because what it does, it gives us ability to choose the right set of influencers. Also allows us to create content which is relevant and interesting, not only for us as a brand, but also for the influencer. So we want to give them that complete freedom. And what helps it at the end of the day is some of them have truly become our brand ambassadors. Right? For example, one of the influencer actually we gave them some content idea, and that sort of content worked the best ever performance for their content ever. So which also made them realize that the sort of we were working in a more collaborating win-win perspective, not just to just to use the influencer because they have a lot of reach. It's to create content that really drives engagement at the end of the day.
So I have been, following Indigo, and I have seen some of the influencers, talking about Indigo, and that was the reason I just wanted to talk about this particular topic with you. It's pretty interesting. I really like the idea of, building a long-term relationship with the influencers here, rather than just focusing on one campaign or one sales. This is a this is a real insight which is going to add a lot of value for the marketers who are looking for influencer marketing side. Just taking influencers as your collaborator and looking at them as your brand ambassador for a long term thing, and that's how you are building a relationship where they understand you better, your vision better, and that's how they are finding a freedom to create their own content, and creativity is all about their freedom. So I really loved the long term vision with the influencer collaboration here, right? So Nikhil, you spoke about consumer insights, right, previously. So I thought of, let's discuss about what are the consumer insights that took you by surprise, and how are you using them for your business strategy? I'm sure you have seen a very different, change in the consumer insights as well.
No, so that's rightly said. I think I would say the change of consumer insight from pre-COVID to post-COVID has been very interesting. I think that is something that has been very interesting. I think one of the things that which took us by surprise was honestly the way the passengers started coming back to flying. We thought it will take them a bit of time. I think that was a very different insight for us. We were still thinking it'll take us some time. Though I think it really worked, especially after the second wave, because we had done a lot of hard work after the first wave. What we did was we quickly shifted gear. I think we realized that it was important for us to start creating content, creating communication, and talking about how Indigo offers them like the most opportunity to travel to different parts of the country. What we also realized that with international travel being sort of curtailed, people really wanted to travel within the country. So what we did was we created a new sort of I would say a regional language sort of communication was with us, which was India Dekho Indigo ke saath. The idea was that you can explore the whole of the country with Indigo. So hopefully, I think this trend will continue. We'll be able to sort of take people to different corners of the country and make them experience India like they have never done before.
I'm sure. And people has been craving to travel from a very long time, and I think that worked probably after the second wave, that people started traveling. And of course, it's pretty interesting to know that how Indigo has been constantly working on the innovation, on their communication, reaching out to the customers in the way they really look for, and it's a perfect example for any marketer to why it's very important to be agile and being very dynamic towards looking at your customers, what they really want, so and I'm sure it might have been a very interesting time to be in the marketing team of such companies.
No, true. I think aviation has from a marketing perspective, how aviation is very different from other areas also is that it's very dynamic. I think unlike other sort of sectors which are more stable and brand sort of and also the communication is it takes a lot of time and we don't change them that much. I think aviation there is a lot of dynamism and you have to be really agile to be able to capture the consumer insights, capture the mood of the customer, and then sort of communicate to them. Though having said that, I think one of the key fundamental for us to ensure that from a tonality perspective, it continues to be consistent with what the core ethos of Indigo is. We don't want to change the core ethos of Indigo, which is a brand which creates, which is simple, easy to understand, and also says difficult things in a very fun and
Yes.
quirky way. I think that is the core ethos of Indigo, and we don't want to change it. It's just we want to be agile enough to be able to uh, make the change and communicate to the right audience in the right way.
I think that's a great point. While being agile, it's very important to being consistent on the ethos. I mean, just to keep reminding yourself your vision and your thought process, and for the reason why you are admired by the audience. And yeah, the simplicity, as Indigo is always known for their simplicity and simplified messages, right? So, so we are moving towards like how does your marketing strategy changes from the tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 cities, and
We
it's very
started off.
relevant for a company like Indigo because it's everywhere. It's in
No, no, true. Yeah, rightly said. I think it's not only relevant; it's very much what's happening at this point of time at Indigo. Because I think from an some perspective and history angle, we started off as a brand which was primarily focused on metro to metro markets. I think that's
uh-huh.
how we started Indigo. And over the last couple of years, what we have realized is there is a lot of demand in tier two, tier three cities in the country. And if you would have noticed, that's why over the last 1 year we have actually opened 10 new stations within the
Oh.
country. And this is an example we keep giving. For example, earlier if someone had to go from Agra to Goa, it was such a big hassle, right? You'll take a train or you'll take a bus or whatever, take a car from Agra, drive down to Delhi, and then take a flight to Goa. Now, because Indigo has come in, we might not have a direct flight to Goa from Agra, but you can definitely take a Agra Bangalore flight and a Bangalore Goa flight. So journey which was earlier uh, 12 hours, 14 hours is now cut down to 5 to 6 hours. And in other cases, we are even cutting down travel journeys which were 24, 36 hours to 4 hours, 5 hours. So we are really, really trying to sort of solve for consumers' need to be able to reach at their destination at a much faster. So in a tier one city, we'll be continuing to be really quirky, really sort of edgy in our communication because the sort of audience understands all of this. And even the choice of media that we use will be very performance led. So more focused on digital marketing, more focused on social media and things like that, because we want to really make sure that we are able to get the highest ROI from this. Whereas if we go into tier 2, tier 3 marketing, our communication, our objective, and our choice of media would change. For example, as I said, in tier 2, tier 3 markets, our key communication thought process is to create more and more awareness about Indigo, more awareness about where we fly people from that city, more awareness from the network connectivity we offer them, and all of that. Similarly, our communication style will vary. It will become slightly more simplified. Will not be that quirky and edgy in those markets because it will take them some time to evolve to Indigo brand for us to be really able to communicate to them. So we want to be able to communicate to them in the language and the way they also understand, but retaining the Indigo ethos at the core of it. Similarly, as I said, one thing would change is the media choices. Here, it is all about creating more awareness and penetration. So we'll do print advertising, we'll do radio advertising, we'll do outdoor, in addition to digital. So in tier 2, tier 3 markets, because it's all about creating awareness, penetration, we change our media choice strategy also. So this is how we look at the bigger tier 1 markets and tier 2, tier 3 markets. Primarily, three things definitely change. One is what we are sort of targeting, what sort of business objective we are doing. That differs. Our communication style changes. It changes to suit the audience. And thirdly, our media choices changes to make sure that we are able to reach the relevant audience based on our communication and our business objectives. So these are the things that we keep in mind when we are targeting tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities for us as at Indigo.
Right. And that very clearly explained, Nikhil. And meanwhile, when explaining, realization came, all of a sudden, one insight came that, brand building, brand and consumers, it's like a friendship, when you when you're already a friend of somebody, then you can crack jokes, you can share the quirky messages and all. But when you are in a stage where the friendship is very new, you just have to be little simplified and little formal in terms of the communication. And when it is in the stage where you are about to get into the friendship, the communication is very different. So I think it's all about how the personal relationships you follow, and the similar relationship is the brand and consumer relationship as well, right?
True. Rightly said. I think brand. If you have to look at brand as a person and consumer also, and they are people. So it's all about that personal relationship between a brand and the consumers. And as you rightly said, tier 1 markets, they know us, they understand us. So we use different sort of communication style with them. Tier 2, tier 3 markets where we're still building our friendship and our brand, that's where we use slightly different sort of tonality. I wouldn't say tonality. I think the tonality remains the same, but the style in which we articulate it's slightly different. We want to be simplified and hopefully make them trial and use our product and make them one of those people who understand our brand, and then we'll start talking to them in a slightly more fun way than we've been doing till now.
So, how does your relationship with your agency partners have changed of late? Like when I say agency partners, it's media and creative partners. And what are the 3 must qualities you look for in any agency partners?
Yeah, I think interestingly, what we have realized over the last couple of years, especially during COVID, I think it's we want to sort of move away from saying it as an agency-client relationship. We want to sort of talk about partnerships. I think that is what is becoming important, and we have realized. I think for any brand, for any organization, and for even for agencies per se, if they have to sort of really make a difference. It should be looked upon as a partnership between those two entities, a brand and an agency. And at the end of the day, it should result into a win-win situation for both of them. And I think for us, from a creative agency lens, we have been working with Biden and Kennedy. They are a fabulous creative agency. They've been our partners for last 15 years, and it's a partnership that we really cherish, I think, and they've really helped us build this brand from ground up. And that is something that we want to do with a lot of our other sort of relationship, to move them from, say, an agency client relationship to a partner relationship. At the end of the day, the team should feel like a creative agency team should feel like an extended part of the marketing team. The media agency should feel like an extended part of the marketing team. They should not feel like that they are an external party and things like that. I think that's the mindset which I believe is really helpful, and I think that's a trend that we are seeing. A lot of organizations are realizing that that's where you start getting real value, because as we had discussed, brands don't get built in a day, right? Not even a year. Sometimes even take a decade to really build a brand. So unless you have a really strong partners to work with you to and have the same vision and mission, it would be impossible for you to be able to build a brand which is really loved and sustainable for a long period of time. In terms of the 3 things or 2 things or whatever, couple of things that we look in when we are looking at agency partners. One is, as I said, I think long-term thinking. It's very important for agency to understand the brand in and out. It should not be that they just understand them superficially. It's very important that they really truly invest time, understand what are the needs of the brand, how the brand works, and things like that. Because only when they're able to do that and have a very long-term thinking, they would be able to add really strong value to that brand. And once you do that, it's a ripple effect. It becomes a win-win situation. Everyone starts getting happy. So that's one thing. The second thing, especially from a creative agency or even from a media agency, is to also make sure from a what is their end output, whether it's a creative output or a media output. Because in this current times where a consumer is bombarded with millions of messages, there are hundreds and hundreds of media choices. It's important for our partners to be able to give us how do we differentiate from others. I think that is something they should be able to bring to the table, that differentiation. So that output and differentiation is very important for us. And I think third thing, which I truly strongly believe, I think what marketing does at the end of the day, along with building strong brand, is to also enable the business, right? It's important that we are able to solve for the business problem. And similar is the expectation from our partners also, that they should be able to understand the business issues that we have and solve for them, and figure out ways how we can solve for business problems along with building brands. So I think these are the three things that truly sort of look into when we're looking at partners, whether they bring long-term thinking, are they looking at what are the differentiation and innovation that they're bringing to the table, and thirdly, truly are they able to solve for the real core business problems that an organization has. If your partner is able to do that, I think then it's a cherished relationship. You should invest in that relationship, and it'll take both the agency and the organization way ahead at all the parameters.
I really like the clarity on this part, Nikhil. That it's a partnership which has to be equal responsibility, at the same time equal rewards as well. I mean, when you share the responsibility equally and your visions equally, you get the rewards equally, right? And that can only happen when the relationship is not only based on the superficial mode. It has to be very deep and meaningful, and understanding right problems, right business problems, and find out a creative solutions towards the common goal, right? So I think the clarity was there, and I really like the idea of the equal partnership, which many brands are, good brands are, focusing on this equal partnership with the agencies now. So that is how the the dynamics has been changing with the vendor-client relationship to the partnership model. With that, now we are moving towards a very interesting section, one of my favorite, a little lighter section, which is a rapid fire round. Marketing cannot go ahead without an entertainment, so I'm just putting a little lightness here. You have to answer either in one word or as minimum as possible. Yes?
Okay.
So, what is leadership for you?
Enabling your team to do great work.
What is the book that you're planning to read?
So it's a book that I've been planning to read for a while. I've actually bought it also. It's The Almanac by Naval Ravikant.
Okay. Who has been the greatest influence to you?
I think it's difficult to answer that in one word. I think a lot of people at different point of time have influenced me, whether it's my family, my friends, my colleagues. So it will be very difficult to pinpoint any one person, but each of them have played a very, very important role in where I am at this point.
But it's pretty tricky to answer in one word, especially the questions like this. What is the best thing that has happened to you this year, Nikhil?
I would say I think increased responsibilities at Indigo has been one of the best things that's happened.
Right. Nice. It's a very nice way to look into your good things and the interesting things and the challenging things as well. When are you most inspired?
Early in the morning.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that early in the morning has a different vibe altogether. What is the best compliment you have ever received?
That I'm a very calm person and they would love to learn to be someone like
Wow.
me.
Wow. It's rare to get people around you, peaceful and calm people at the world of chaos and everybody's talking, right? People like you are the assets of the group, and if you are there in any group, then it's like at least there is somebody who is calm and peaceful and listening. What does creativity means to you?
I think for creativity for me means how do you express something very complex in a simple way.
What is an important life lesson for someone to learn?
I think persistence.
Right. And we have experienced, the art of persistence, being persistent in last 1.5 year when you had
Yeah.
choice to do, being persistent, and being patient.
Yeah, that really helps. I think I've realized that a lot of times it's just about how persistent you are. It's some things seem really tough, but if you're persistent enough, it really helps you to drive that.
Right. And when you are a creator and when you are in a field where you need to think ahead of the future, see, marketing, I am an entrepreneur, so there were times where we had no choice than being persistent, right? I mean, you have nothing to do, so you just have to be
Yeah,
patient and keep doing the same thing again and again.
true.
So with that, we are out of the rapid fire round, and before we end the conversation, I want you, Nikhil, to guide our aspiring marketers with your message and advice to the aspiring marketers.
So I think my one key message for anyone who's aspiring to be in marketing is uh, to is very clear to have customer at the mind of whatever they are doing. I think at the end of the day, the fundamentals of marketing are is what that you should always go back to, which is that customer is at the core of everything. I've learned it after working in marketing for a while that the marketing people get most quickly bored of their own campaign because they've been looking at it day and night, whereas consumers haven't really seen that campaign because it takes time for consumers to really absorb that information. But the marketing people, because they've been working on that, like, this is done, we have already done this, let's do something new. But having said that, I think, as I said, I think because if you keep your eye on the customer and what is his or her need, what you're trying to solve for, whether your message has reached them or not, I think if you just keep that at the core of it and understand them, whosoever is your target audience, you'll be able to solve for other things. It's all about, at the end of the day, that customer that you're trying to reach out to you, whether you want to convince them, influence them, or do whatever at the end of the day. But it's that customer which you should keep your eye on always.
Right, and it's such a right message, Nikhil. I mean, I could completely relate to that. While working on one campaign, we live that campaign and message so much into our lives and into our team. Then we are like, okay, we are kind of done. But the focus really has to reach out to the customers and how the customer is behaving. Rather than just asking the feedback from your first circle. Go and just see like how the customer is behaving and reacting and responding to your message, right? So I really love the answer, and it's a takeaway for me as well. I also get bored very quickly with my own ideas, and then I'm like, oh, is it? It was good. I get feedback from others. Okay. So nice, Nikhil. Amazing insights, and it was fun having you in Icons Behind Brand. The conversation was candid, and at the same time it was very insightful, very core, and as Indigo's core, it was very simplified, and it is going to add a lot of value to the platform. And thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, Devalina. I think it was a pleasure talking to you. A lot of things that I also had to sort of go back and jog my memory. But I just hope that this really helps the people who listen into it. But had a lot of fun talking to you. Thank you for having me over.
Same here, Nikhil. Same here.